Hi, I'm Sharon Ramkran, a third-year student at the University of Guyana Social Work Degree Program. I'm here along with some other colleagues investigating and highlighting the issue of neglect of the elderly by their family of origin. And we're at the Palms Geriatric Home.
As the number and percentage of individuals 60 and over has increased in our society, so has the incidence of elderly neglect. Unfortunately, the prevalence and nature of this growing problem has remained hidden from the public view. It is important that both the professional and the layman become more aware of the scope and many issues surrounding this sensitive topic.
Our mothers,
our fathers,
our grandparents.
Neglect is the failure of caregivers to fulfill their responsibilities to provide needed care. Neglect of the elderly occurs when this act is perpetuated against the elderly.
Oh, I'm a student of the order being gaming, nothing much.
There is no set age for an elder, but it may be defined as when a person retires at the age of 60 or 65 years old. In certain countries, it may be when a person physically cannot do his unusual family work, roles anymore. This may be unknowingly or purposely done by family members or a carer of an elder. Elder neglect includes not giving food, clothing, shelter, medicine, or care that is needed for everyday living. This may also involve not bathing, dressing, or feeding the elder. Active, intentional withholding of food, medication, failure to clean or bathe. Active neglect is a form of neglect in which the perpetrator fully knows and understands the dire consequences of their actions. The lack of care is purposeful, and the person inflicting the neglect is aware that injury is occurring from their actions. This kind of neglect is far more common for patients who are being cared for in the home.
A girl that I had adopted, but I can't call her my own because she took everything belonged to me and she went her way and she have no time for me now at the moment as it stands.
my friend go pick up me from when me been there and say she don't mind me. And when me come, she start to treat me bad and she rob me and take everything, put me up. Gone home. After my husband dead, them grandson get the will, they put me out.
Don't come, they never come.
Do you have any family members?
Yes, I have adopted brothers and sisters. They said they're not coming here.
They're not coming?
No, they said they're not coming here.
Anybody made any attempt to
Never.
no, like welfare, any
Yeah, welfare, seek them, and they said they're not coming. Over, they said.
Passive neglect is another form of neglect resulting from ignorance or physical inability to address a particular need. Passive neglect means that the mistreatment is not intentional and is not committed with any malice. In cases of passive neglect, the source of the problem is usually family caregivers who simply do not know how to provide for the diverse needs of an ailing elderly patient. Passive neglect refers to situations in which the caregiver is unable to fulfill his or her caregiving responsibilities as a result of illness, disability, stress, ignorance, lack of maturity, or lack of resources.
Sister.
Your sister?
Yes.
Okay. So since she brought you, she ever come back to see you, to see how you're doing and
She
so on?
come about 2 times and she
So what
never
year you
come.
been here?
Yes, but 3 months.
3 months now you're here? Okay, so they just come and see you. Steady?
She come about 3 times. She come about 3 times. And she come in and say she come.
Just bring anything for yourself?
No.
They don't bring
She
anything
come
for you?
in, say she come back.
You got children?
Yes,
And
2.
them children come see you?
No.
At that time, most of the relatives are overseas, including my son.
They communicate with you?
Yes, sometimes in England, Canada, and America.
Any relative here come to see you or you don't have any relative?
Very, very rare Guyanese would like to come and visit a relative at the farms.
Kosher.
Sir?
Robert Kosher.
Robert Kosher. Okay. All right, Robert, do you have children?
Yeah.
Okay, do they come and visit you?
I got 1 child in this country.
You got 1 child in this country? A girl or a boy?
Yeah.
And do she come and visit you?
Rarely now.
Rarely.
She used to come more often. But she rarely come.
Oh, she rarely comes. Okay, and how old are you?
61.
61? Okay, and how long have you been here at the park?
2 years.
2 years. And out from the 2 years, how often has she come?
Well, she used to come often first, you know.
Okay. For the year, have you gotten any visit?
1.
1 visit for the year? Okay. Any other relatives, siblings, also come and visit you? Nobody. Okay. Unusual weight loss, malnutrition, dehydration, unsanitary living conditions, dirt, bugs, soiled beddings and clothes, being left dirty or unbathed, unsafe living conditions, no heat or running water, faulty electrical wiring, other fire hazards, depression or worsening health conditions. Caregiver stress. Caring for a not too well older person suffering from mental or physical impairment can be highly stressful. Individuals who do not have the requisite skills, information, resources, etc., who are otherwise ill prepared for the caregiving role may experience extreme stress and frustration, which can lead to neglect of the elderly, dependency or impairment of the elder. It is being noted that as an adult, dependency increases, so does the resentment and stress of the caregiver. Elders in relatively good health do not suffer as much as those with poor health. External stress, such as financial problems, job stress, and additional family stressors are also causes of neglect of the elderly. Here is where individuals who were neglected as children become part of a cycle of neglect. The neglect is learned as a form of accepted behavior in response to conflict or tension. Thus, the caregiver is at risk of becoming a perpetuator of neglect of the elderly. That is, if the elder who is receiving the care previously neglected the caregiver as a child, who is now simply returning the neglect they suffer. What goes around comes around. Caregivers' personal problems. Some caregivers may be guilty of neglect of the elderly as a function of their own difficulties. Example, a caregiver who is addicted to alcohol or drugs or an emotional disorder is most likely to neglect persons under their care. Persons who are victims of neglect of the elderly exhibit emotional distress such as crying, depression, or despair. Experience a sudden loss of appetite that is unrelated to a medical condition. are confused and disoriented. This may be the result of malnutrition, and emotionally numb, withdrawn, or detached. Exhibit regressive behavior. Exhibit self-destructive behavior. Express unrealistic expectation about their care, claiming that their care is adequate when it is not, or insisting that the situation will improve.
Well, some of them you find them sad most of the time. You know, they're withdrawn from, they're not associating with the fellow inmates and stuff like that. They get a difficult time talking to them. Most of the time they're distant. So that's mostly because the family left them and don't look. The ones that have families visited, they're more open. They kind of adjust to the new lifestyle and stuff like that. But for the ones not who don't have anybody visiting them, they're the ones that are withdrawn. So you find them either not wanting to eat and drink, but with the others that they have families visiting, they're okay.
Most patients without family visiting them would tend to have kind of, a nerve problem. Sometimes they will be talking about, well, this person left me since a year ago and they wouldn't come back, or they did something for me and then come in to see me or stuff like that, and they would tend to have shaking issues or constantly studying about it, and the reaction isn't really nice. They would be lonesome, sometimes neglectful to others. They don't want to eat, they don't want to talk to others, they would be talking to themselves. Likewise, others with family would be at peace. If they have a cell phone, they would call the relatives and talk to them. Or what else? They would just be comfortable, They would gap with the nurses and stuff like that.
More educational discussion should be done in school and publicly about the requirement of how to deal with the elderly. Every person, every man, woman, and child deserves to be treated with respect and with care.
Intervening when you suspect neglect of the elderly.
Listening to seniors and their caregivers.
Raising public awareness about early identification and prevention.
Providing information, advice, and advocacy on a one-to-one or family basis, including provision of support and services about preventing abuse or neglect in the future.
And so that our elders could have legal aids and social workers to help them with their problems and to make sure that they are not isolated.